Hi world, this is a Frugal Millennial and today I'm going to talk about debt. Many people associate debt to something that's bad and should be paid off immediately. Although this might be true with some debt, it isn't always the case. In fact, there are good debts, and this is what a lot of rich people use to make them rich. This is probably how Graham Stefan, Mick Kevin, and our very own Nathan Birch became millionaires before they were famous on social media. And what constitutes bad debt? Bad debts are loans that eat away at your saving without giving you any monetary return in the long run. Once you have paid off the debt, the item that you have bought with that loan has either not changed or depreciated in monetary value. Things include car loans on new cars that are meant for personal use, loans on homes that are appreciating in value, loans on dying business, personal loans or credit card loans used to buy non-essential items can all be considered as bad debt. In America, student loans can be classified as bad debt because you have to pay the interest and there isn't a salary sacrifice system in place. The loans are usually around 5%, which can be likened to personal loans. This is different in Australia. Our student loans are not quite loans in a technical sense, as we don't have to pay any interest. However, the loan is adjusted each year in accordance with the standard of living. We only pay the student fees back once we have started working, and this gets automatically deducted from our salary once we earn a certain amount. Moving on to good debts. Good debts are loans that give you monetary return and doesn't eat away at your savings. These include mortgages on a property that will appreciate in price over time and or give you a great rental return. Business loans on a thriving business, loans on buying equipment that will allow you to improve your productivity. Now let's go into an example. Married couple Rob and Danny have $20,000 to spare each year, which works out to be $1,667 per month. They have saved $100,000. Rob wants to buy a Maserati Quadruporte, which is around about $210,000, whilst Danny wants to buy an investment house in the country worth $450,000. In both instances, they will need to get a loan. There's a discrepancy in loan rate for each types of loan. The current interest rate on the car loan is 4.91%, whilst the loan on the house is 3% for an investment loan. Let's have a look at the two different scenarios. In scenario 1, if they choose to buy a Maserati, the loan on the car will be $110,000, making the monthly repayment of the car at $1,551 per month. The pair can repay this with $100 left over per month. The maximum allowed car loan period is 7 years. In the second scenario, the home loan is $380,000, which includes fees. And the loan period for this type of loan is set for 30 years. A home loan of $380,000 at an interest rate of 3% means the monthly repayment will be $1,603 with $63 per month to spare. On top of this, the house is rented out at $300, which includes rates and management fees. Now let's fast forward 7 years. The car loan has been paid off. However, cars depreciate in value over time. This is the depreciation chart for a car. In the first year, the car depreciates by 20%, and in subsequent years, it depreciates by 10%. After 7 years, the car is only worth about 40% of the original value, and this is applicable to most cars. Now, let's work out the total loss on the car. The total loss equals the total spend minus the value of the car, and the total spend is the initial deposit plus your repayment and your interest paid on the car. And putting those figures together, the total loss is $161,209. Now let's look at the house. The pair had rented out the house for $350 per week, or around $300 after fees, for 48 weeks per year, which takes vacancies into consideration. I've also included the calculation of rent rise of around 1% per annum. The house appreciates at 6.8%, which is the past historical rate for Australian homes. Of course, some properties will not appreciate as much and some will appreciate appreciate beyond this percentage. But let's, for the purpose of this exercise, assume it's 6.8%. This means at the end of the 7 years, they will still owe the bank $319,000, but the house has appreciated to $713,000, and they have collected $103,000 worth of rent. This means if Rob and Danny were to sell their property at the 7-year mark, they would have collected a gain of over $189,000 plus. All the calculations are on the screen, and I recommend you pause this video to go into the finer details. But because they have made a deposit of $100,000, this means they would get a total of around about $289,000 in their pocket. And not forgetting fees and capital gains tax. So at the end of the 7-year mark, you are actually looking at getting a bit over $250,000, or a net gain of around about $160,000. This could have been enough to buy a 2-year-old Maserati without getting a car loan. Sure, in scenario 1, Rob and Danny had some great times in their sports car and they had something to show up to their friends. But the novelty wears out after a few years, and so does the price tag of the car. For every $1 they put in, they actually lost 64 cents. In the second scenario, their assets really increased in value. For every $1 they put in, they were able to gain $1.90 back. That is, if they were not to sell the property. But if they were to sell it, their gain is $1.60 for every dollar they spend, which is not bad. However, Rob and Danny can always hold on to the property after 7 years to avoid capital gains tax. If their property has appreciated, they can go to the bank to get equity. Equity on a house is the current value of a house minus what is owed on it, which includes a 20% deposit. The bank will treat it as a new loan. The bank will hire a professional home evaluator to evaluate the current value of the property, and from this, they will calculate the new deposit of 20%. So for this instance, Rob and Danny's house is valued at $713,200. They need to take away what is owed and the 20% deposit of the newly valuation of their property. This means the equity will be around about $250,000. This is a secret to becoming successful. If Rob and Danny use this equity, they can then purchase another property worth under $1 million, or split this down the middle and get 2 properties worth around about $400,000 to $500,000. You can't do this if you bought the Maserati. And this is how the rich becomes rich. They didn't work super hard to get there, but they made a small sacrifice and refrained from buying depreciating assets. As a consequence, this is considered as a good debt because you are using someone else's money to grow your wealth. In contrast, the first scenario is considered as bad debt because you have lost money. Furthermore, as bad debts can eat away at your savings, sometimes if you are not on top of it, it can become overwhelming for your mental health, a strain on your relationship, it can cause poverty, and can lower your credit score. Just briefly, because I have mentioned this before, credit score is a metric banking institutes use to evaluate whether you are capable of repaying loans. This is important when you go and get a mortgage for your future home. If you have a low credit score, this means banks don't trust you with their money and hence will not lend you the maximum amount. So, always be vigilant with debt because it might seem small now, but it can have a huge impact on your future wealth and lifestyle. Anyways, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you haven't yet. Did you agree with what I said? And make sure to check out the freebies I have down below, including potentially getting a Nike share worth up to $150. Until next time, thanks for watching.